Welcome back to The Christian View, and we've been talking about vampires. Did you know that there are self-identified cultures or groups of people living right among us who identify themselves as modern-day vampires?
And let me just add, they actually take on the appearance, I mean a real appearance of a vampire. They have their teeth sharpened, the eyes darkened. Some of them are surgically made and to look like vampires, and some of them, they call themselves self-turns. But they really take on the appearance of a vampire.
And if it wasn't that, it's going to be something else. I mean, let's say, if you got a person who wants to be a vampire, they're going to be something. I mean, let's just be real about it.
You know, with all the stigma that's attached to the lifestyle of vampires, what would cause someone to want to actually practice or live within that lifestyle?
They take on the fetish for blood, and they really do addict themselves to the taste of blood. And what I read was they start with animal's blood, and it's usually from a deer. And they get themselves liking the taste of blood, and their goal is to be able to function 100% on blood and no human food.
And I've heard that they say when they come into the awareness that they're a vampire, it's called an awakening. You don't read that? It's an awakening. And one guy said, I was awakened one night when I opened the refrigerator and there was raw hamburger meat in the refrigerator, and I had an urge to eat it, overwhelming urge. And that's when I knew that I had this taste for blood.
Go see a doctor.
Yeah. And look at this.
Anemic.
There's a term, sadomasochism. I don't even know how to say it. Masochism. Thank you. And it's the deriving pleasure from pain.
Yes.
And you think, what is wrong with a person that derives pleasure from pain? There's something going on
They're trying to beat themselves up
underneath.
over something, aren't they, Professor?
Yes.
There it is.
Well, a lot of it, some people get involved, they said, because initially they go into the cults or into the vampire arenas for the energy that surround it, and they go there and they draw on the energy, and many of them don't do the feeding, you know, with the blood initially. They go and they say they pull from each other's energy.
I can get them in touch with my trainer, and they can get all the energy they want.
Different energy.
Yeah, it's better energy. Then I can get them in touch with my
Energy
Lord.
it gives me is to wake up in the middle of the night screaming and shaking from watching anything that's any evil.
Okay. Now, so there, you've got that side of things, but then you've got the Twilight series and all of these kind of fanciful things, and that's some of it's fairly innocent, some of it's very seductive. What do y'all think about those shows like Twilight and True Blood and these things that are being played out there? Are they innocent?
There sure is a fascination. I know even a lot of girls that, you know, I know from church were just really into that. Was it Edward? Is that right?
Yeah, Edward and Bella, and I mean, I didn't know that much about it, but I read some up on it.
Maybe it's a romance.
I think it is.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. With both of those, True Blood and also with Twilight, you find a lot of the eroticism that's really magnified throughout those shows, and it kind of paints the whole vampire society as more, you know, the whole feedings and things. It becomes such an erotic, pleasurable sensation where,
Satanic.
and people, I think, are really are being influenced and pulled in, thinking that
There's a lot of Satan worshipers out there, Lee.
Yes.
There's a lot more Satan worshipers out there than we know, I'm afraid to say. But I do think also this group that identifies themselves vampires, they want to be part of society. They want to be integrated into society. And I read, you know, the reason for that, you'll love this. The Red Cross, in their mind, throws away way too much blood that they could be using. And not only the Red Cross, they would love to be able to buy it off the shelves in the grocery store. It would make life easier. They want to be part of society now.
But we're talking about a half of a percent of people. This is not a large group of people that are dealing with this whatever underlying issue that they have, that they need to be a part of something different, something unusual. So there's more going on than meets the eye, don't you think?
And sometimes they'll say, you know, they have a need physically for the blood. They believe, from what I'm reading, and we're not condemning you if you're watching the show. We don't condemn. We're just learning about this because this is so different from anything we've ever heard. But they need the blood. They say.
There's power in the blood, but it's the blood of Jesus. And so that's what, if I need one, that's what I'm going to tell them.
And you know, that's for sure.
Yeah, the point of that is, too, that Satan perverts everything
Yes.
that Jesus Christ did for us. And so they're craving what they could get through Jesus Christ.
Right.
That's
Amen.
good.
And Rebecca, we're not condemning, but we do want to bring and speak truth in love in that this is not a healthy lifestyle to
it's
pursue.
not.
This is something that can really cause a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and it's got to be some underlying mental issue, I believe.
As we started off to talk about the dark shadows, and then we've seen the progression of evil, and evil always progresses. You know, there's a zenith to this evil, and so what does evil prevail when good men do nothing? And so we, when do we, put clamps on it? Like, it's a shame that people rush to the theaters when these, movies come or the books come out, and people are standing outside Barnes and Noble or whatever, the bookstores, waiting to get these kind of books.
Yeah.
Top 10 best book for
And you even
Yes.
think about
kids.
Harry Potter, the Harry Potter
Right.
series, and how that introduces kids to darkness and witchcraft, and very popular in
kids.
school systems. you know.
Okay, but let's talk about these books, and there's a lot of children that are intrigued by them, and these children can be innocently just intrigued with the fantasy
Like
of
I
it,
was
and
with
that's
Dark
okay.
Shadows.
So how, as a parent, are you going to deal with it? I read an article that said, introduce the subject, talk with your kids about it, and talk with some of the redeeming qualities that are within the Twilight books. You've got some redeeming qualities in there, and open up a conversation about Edward. He's 104 years old, came from the gentleman era. I think little girls want a gentleman.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
The redeeming quality would be to say, he believes in everlasting life. You only get that through Jesus
Amen.
Christ. Amen.
Stay with us. We're coming right back.